Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm going to start with what is a 72-year-old grandfather that plays the accordion speaking to all of you intelligent students. Two great speeches right there, very intimidating. Here's my story. Father comes home one day early, unexpectedly. My dad thinks he's in big trouble playing his father's accordion, except for he played it so well that my grandfather said, "It's yours." And that started the professional musicianship of my dad on accordion. He immediately started playing accordion locally. He got real good real fast. He decided he needed to go to Hollywood to get famous. So he tells his dad, "I'm heading to Hollywood." He's about 17. Goes to Hollywood and gets on the radio, on national radio shows. He's playing with movie stars, people you've never heard of: Roy Rogers, Dale Evans, Tex Ritter. Anyway, he's becoming a big shot, except for after about 2 or 3 years down there, he got homesick. Came home and played for a little while, and then World War II broke out. He signed up in the Army. He enlisted like everybody else did. Everybody enlisted. And he wanted to be an infantryman. He wanted to be in the Army band, but they didn't have a place for an accordion player in the Army band. So he said, "I'll be an infantryman." Then they found out that he couldn't shoot. So they made him a medic. And a medic is not an easy gig in the Army, but he was trained as a medic. And he's getting ready for deployment. And the war's going. And one day at an empty hall in Fort Ord, there was a piano. And he just started doodling on the piano all by himself. And a captain walks in. Captain says, "Hey, you're pretty good. The general's having a party tomorrow. I want you to come and play for the general." And he says to the captain, "Do you mind if I play the accordion instead of the piano? I'm not really good at the piano." He goes, "Yeah, bring your accordion. That's fine. Bring any. We don't care." So he shows up. He shows up Sunday at the general's house, and he plays. And he doesn't go unnoticed by the general. At the end of the party, the general comes up to him and says, "So what's your name? What's your rank? What are you doing?" He tells him, "I'm a medic." The general says, "You're a medic? Well, that's a waste of talent." He says, "I got an idea for you, son. I want you to form a band. Find 3 or 4 guys around here that play like you do, and come back to me when you get it done." So, I don't know how long it took him, 3, 4 weeks. He finds some really good musicians. They go back to the general, and the general says, "Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to make you a corporal. I'm going to create a special unit in the Army just for you guys." And the next thing is, they're on the road playing. He's not shipped to Europe in the front lines as a medic, but through music and through that little connection he just made, he's now performing all over the United States, raising money for war bonds. And that's how they paid for the war in World War II. And this act is getting better and better and better. That's the original 4 right there. You guys are looking at. Anyway, they added more to the act, and then the USO takes notice, and they grab these guys and they make them part of the USO tour. Now they're playing for Army troops. They're making people happy. That was his contribution in the war, and he was so thankful that he didn't have to go to the front lines, and he could still contribute to the war, that he found a way to give back. When they attended cities that had Army hospitals, military hospitals, him and the violin player would go on their own, and they would go from bedside to bedside and play for wounded soldiers. And when he would tell us as kids these stories, he would break down and cry every time, because he saw some pretty wounded soldiers. He saw tears coming out of their eyes when he would play their favorite songs. He saw a few of them pass away in front of him. Anyway, this is what he did in World War II. Last stop was North Carolina. He's at a military base in North Carolina, and he meets my mom, his future wife, talks her into getting married, brings her back to Monterey, and now he's back with the family, and him and my grandfather opened up a few businesses, and now they're playing at nights, and now they're starting to make some connections in music. One of them was a gentleman by the name of Sam Morris. He's the founder of the Pebble Beach Corporation, and Sam loved him, hired him all the time, and ended up that my dad became the band leader for the lodge at Pebble Beach for 25 years. Every Friday and Saturday night, he would play music at the lodge, and the lodge would hire him for other jobs that would happen. And that's pretty much how he fed our family as we were all growing up as kids. And then one day, they made another connection, even a more important connection. There's a family in Monterey called the Work family. They're still here. They were the major property owners and still may be on the Monterey Peninsula. Mr. Work also owned a bank. Mr. Work hired my dad and my grandfather for all of his parties and loved them. And one day, at the end of a party, my grandfather and dad got the courage and went up to Mr. Work and said, Mr. Work, you have a building on Alvarado Street. We'd like to buy it from you. And they gave him the address, and Mr. Work says, And, oh, my grandfather says, one more thing, Mr. Work. Could your bank loan us the money? And Mr. Work says, yes, knowing full well, he watched my dad, he watched my grandfather, he watched their work ethic, and he knew damn well that they were going to make every payment. That was the first piece of property that our family got into, and that got us into the real estate business. My dad kept working, my grandfather kept working day and night. They scrounged a few bucks together. They made a down payment on an empty lot or another piece of property here. And then my dad made a friend through music. This guy loved my dad. And he loved him because my dad was a jovial guy. And even when he didn't have his accordion, he was the life of the party. Anyway, so his name was Bob Littlefield. Bob Littlefield owned Monterey Savings and Loan. Monterey Savings and Loan had many branches by now. And he wasn't a stockholder. He wasn't even a CEO. He was the owner of the bank. And they were great friends. So one day, my dad came home, tells my mom, there's a building for sale on Alvarado Street. It's the biggest building on Alvarado. It's 10,000 feet of retail and 16 apartments upstairs, and I want to buy it. And my mom says, let me show you something, okay? And she shows him, she goes, this is our checkbook. What do you intend to buy this building with? There's nothing in it. My dad says, he wasn't much for numbers. He sleeps on it. Wakes up the next morning, calls his buddy Bob Littlefield, says, Bob, I got to come down to your bank. We got to talk. I have this great idea. So he goes down there. He says, Bob, there's a building across the street on Alvarado Street. You know the building. It's for sale. I got this great idea. Why don't you and I go 50-50 partners on this thing? And guess what? Your bank can make the loan. Bob Littlefield stands up, shakes his hand. He goes, Mike, you got a deal. They were lifelong partners on that building, and that got our family in the real estate business. My dad doesn't have to go play every night just to put food on the table. He's got a little income coming from real estate, thanks to music, by the way. And so the next thing is he's starting to give back to the community. He's playing community events, and he's becoming pretty well loved. I mean, it could be anything. It could be the Salvation Army. It could be Meals on Wheels. It could be anything. But he's given back because now he can afford to give back a little bit. And then the Monterey History and Art Association came up with an idea. They wanted to build a building on the Custom House Plaza. It's there today. If you ever walk down Alvarado Street, go in the Custom House Plaza, take a right, beautiful building on the right. That's the building I'm talking about right now. They needed to raise about $1.5 million. That was a lot of money back there. And my dad had made a friend in the name of Virginia Stanton, and she was a wealthy lady, and he played all of her parties. And Virginia kind of watched my dad giving back to the peninsula like he did. And she decided, when she found out about this fundraiser, and by the way, the intent on this building, the original intent on this building was to honor people that contributed to the history of Monterey. They could be artists, they could be writers like John Steinbeck, they could be musicians, they could be fishermen. They were all going to be honored in this building. When Virginia Stanton found out why the building was going to be built, to honor people that gave back to Monterey, she wrote a check to the Monterey History and Art Association for $1 million. Envelope in the check, we have a copy of it. This is in honor of Michael A. Marotta Sr. for all the happiness and what he's given back to the Monterey Peninsula. So when I walk by that building today, I feel a sense of pride. Our family had something to do with it. And now, it's my turn. I'm a third generation Marotta playing music. And I have a band. I'm 14 years old, and I'm realizing in 2 years I'm getting a driver's license, and that all I could think about is I got to get a car. I got to get a car at 16. But my dad's paying me like $1 an hour working in our family music store, so I wasn't going to get a car at $1 an hour. So my brother and I formed this band, and we did something a little different. At this point, it's like 1967. Everybody's playing rock and roll. The accordion is like the most uncool instrument imaginable, but that's all I play. Later on, I converted to keyboards to play, some more contemporary music, but I'm still an accordion player. So my brother and I decide to form an old people band. And I'm not kidding. We got a great trumpet player, a great drummer, and we start getting the jobs my dad can't play. And all of a sudden, we start making a name for ourselves, and we're getting hired, and we're playing jobs at the Del Monte Lodge, the Beach Club, the Officers Club at the Navy School. We're getting some, and they pay pretty good for that era. And I had no problem buying a car at 16, and because we were making money, and I continue to do that. We have a family store now, and I'm working day, and I'm working night, just like my grandfather did, just like my dad did. We were never smart enough to make a living in one job. So now I find this lovely lady and marry her, and we have 3 children. And I'm going to fast forward. I'm still doing everything. They're going to school. I have a daughter, Rachel, who is about 15 years old, 14 or 15, and she already made her name for herself as a singer locally. And add her to the band. I'm playing keyboards. We're playing rock and roll. We're playing Motown. We're playing swing. We're the ultimate variety band. We could cover any gig. And we do so until Rachel decides to go away to school. I have to replace her. So now I've got 2 daughters in school. My oldest daughter, Christy, and Rachel. They're both in college. I'm taking every gig possible. Literally on weekends, I would do 4 weddings at times just to make enough money to pay college tuition. Then I remember going to the USC college graduation, and the guy speaking says, "Congratulations, parents, you just got a pay raise." And driving back, I realized I just got a pay raise. No more college tuition. So now I don't have to work every job that comes my way. I can start doing kind of what my dad did. I could start giving back to the community a little bit. And it's a wonderful feeling being a musician and being able to do something you love and give back to the community. And Sister Carlotta had just started here. Judy thinks she may have been a librarian. That's how far back this goes. Sister Carlotta heard of my dad and his music and how popular he was. So she's in first grade, and she calls my dad, said, "You know what? Your daughter's going to school here. Maybe you could bring your band here and play a fundraiser once in a while." Well, this happens. Of course, nobody says no to Sister Carlotta. I don't know if, anyway. So my dad's playing fundraisers, and that evolved into something that you all know about. It's called Father-Daughter Weekend. So Father-Daughter Weekend, I don't know who came up with the idea, but Sister Carlotta calls my dad and says, "We have this barbecue on Saturday afternoon. Everybody's waiting in line. Then they go inside, and then the fathers are awarded who came from the furthest place and all this. We need some music for it." So my dad puts a band together. He's playing while everybody's getting their steaks and stuff. And then when the line's finished, he brings the band in. They go upstairs. They go on the stage, and now they're playing more music. And now they start introducing, and here's so-and-so from Madrid, Spain. And my dad, as the guy's walking up, my dad's playing a Spanish song. Here's somebody from Mexico City, Mexican song. Anyway, my dad had so many songs in his head that he didn't even know where they were coming from until he heard where they were, and then he went into a song. He did this for, are you guys ready? 60 years. Now, 10 years into that, Sister Carlotta comes up, or somebody did, with another idea. Why don't we have a dance on Friday night where the fathers all take out the daughters to dinner, maybe they come back here at 9 o'clock and have a dance. And my band's going pretty strong now. So guess who does that? So now my band is playing father-daughter, and we did this for 50 father-daughter events. Friday night dances. Thank you. I just got to tell you one more cute story. I'm out of here. I'm on the phone Sunday morning talking to a drummer, my drummer, who had been my drummer for 28 years. He lives in San Antonio, Texas. He goes, we're talking about everything. He goes, Mike, you won't believe what I did this morning. I go, what's that? He goes, I turned on my cassette tape recorder, and I'm listening to us playing at father-daughter dance, and your daughter Rachel is the lead singer, and we're rocking out, and the place is going crazy. And I go, John, you won't believe this, but in about 3 days, I have to speak at Santa Catalina, and I'm going to mention this story. Anyway, he still remembered that we had some great job. All the fathers would tie their ties around their head. We got many of them to join us in the band. Some of them were musicians. Anyway, that's my story. I'm going to just finish it with, I'm such a proud grandfather to have Anna at this school. This school, to me, is like got to be the best school in America. And thanks for listening.
That's a lot of connections. So, my family is where it is today because of these people right here and the connections they made through the music business and how that went into the real estate business and how throughout every single person they met was a new connection. And that's because of who they were as people. That's because of the music that they shared. And that's because of the family and the reason that they shared the music. It wasn't for money. It was to bring people together, just like my great-grandfather did in the Army. Music is one of the only things that can settle grief and loss and bring people up when they're feeling down. I have a pretty great family, so I'm going to brag about them. My great-grandfather was awarded the Citizen of the Year Award in the Monterey Peninsula. This is awarded by the Chamber of Commerce. And in about 3 days, my grandfather will also be receiving this award. So this is both of them. And the reason they play music is why people love hearing it. And that's a connection that have brought me where I am, has put many people through school. And my great-grandfather, which he was talking about, he always played with passion and with genuine interest. And he gave back to his community through the connections he built, through his music. And the community felt like they wanted to give back. So to finish out this talk, I'd like to show you a community connection that is kind of full circle. And that is a statue has been awarded in his honor. And it's right next to the building that he used to own. And we still play music there to this day. If you guys have heard of Salvation Army, sometimes they have the little buckets with the bells. My grandfather will sometimes stand right next to his statue and play music just for the people in the street to raise money. And we often play in that building in Plumes during Christmas time. This family is something built on trust and connections and genuine enjoyment. And all of that was through music. So that's how our family and our family history has created connections through music. And hopefully you guys can start to notice and realize some ways that music impacts your life. Thank you.